She was called a monster, a ruler who bathed her reign in blood. Her name is whispered in history with fear, fascination, and horror. But was she truly the most evil queen in history, or the victim of myth and propaganda? Tonight, we uncover the terrifying legend and chilling reality of the Bloody Countess herself, Elizabeth. Welcome to Unholy Histories, where the past is darker than fiction. In this episode, we descend into the twisted story of Elizabeth, a noblewoman accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls in her castle, earning her a place in legend as the Blood Countess. Elizabeth was born in 1560 into one of the most powerful families in Hungary. Wealth, land, and influence surrounded her. She was well educated, fluent in several languages, and connected to royalty across Europe. At age 14, Elizabeth married the immensely wealthy Count Ferenc, uniting two of Hungary's most influential lineages. Soon after, the couple embarked on a continent-spanning tour, visiting courts from France to Italy and back again. Throughout Europe, Elizabeth made an impression, charming all who met her. But while she captivated nobles and royalty, something sinister lurked beneath her dazzling smile. Back in Hungary, the couple took up residence in their grand castle in CGT, now known as Čachtice in modern Slovakia. While lavishly furnished and adorned with art, the castle had a dark underbelly. Rumors circulated among the local peasants about strange happenings within its walls. Stories of missing children reached a fever pitch when a young servant girl disappeared without a trace. Locals blamed the castle, whispering of dark magic and gruesome deeds committed within. These murmurs, though disturbing, were just the beginning. In 1585, Elizabeth's husband Ferenc died, leaving her a wealthy widow at the peak of her power. Yet with great wealth came even greater scrutiny. As one of Hungary's richest women, Elizabeth found herself the center of a social game she had never wanted to play. Marriages were strategic alliances, a way to unite families through blood and coffers. But Elizabeth desired a different kind of union, one forged in secrecy. Enter Gywairagi, Tuzo, a dashing young nobleman who had caught her eye. Their romance blossomed into a passionate love affair, defying societal norms and the sacred bond of marriage. Despite her husband's recent death, Elizabeth allowed herself to be swept away by her feelings for G, engaging in intimate trysts that would scandalize the kingdom. Theirs was not a love meant to last, but the consequences of its existence would reverberate throughout history. Born into the Hunyadi family, a distinguished Hungarian noble lineage, Erzsébet Hunyadi enjoyed a privileged upbringing during the latter half of the 16th century. Her father, the esteemed royal treasurer, Ladislaus Hunyadi, ensured she received a top-notch education, instilling in her the values of her family and the societal expectations of her gender from a young age. It was clear that Elizabeth possessed both intelligence and ambition, traits not commonly associated with women of her time. Unlike many of her peers, Elizabeth's interests extended beyond the traditional roles of a noblewoman. She delved into subjects deemed inappropriate for women, including hunting and military strategy. This deviation from societal norms set her apart, foreshadowing the unconventional path her life would take. The weight of her family's legacy and the limitations placed upon women in 16th century Hungary shaped her character, forging a spirit of independence and defiance that would later mark her reign. As news of Elizabeth's affair with G spread, a ripple of shock and disapproval echoed through Hungary's elite. The sanctity of marriage and the reputation of the nobility were at stake. To protect her own standing and that of her late husband, Elizabeth made a shocking decision. She engineered a sham marriage between her lady's maid and Jiri, officially binding him to another. While the charade satisfied society's demand for propriety, it could not contain the whispers that swirled around the castle. Elizabeth's actions, though seemingly discreet, did little to quell the rumors. The townspeople's imagination ran wild, painting a grim picture of events unfolding behind the castle walls. In their minds, the castle became a prison, holding innocent girls captive and concealing their screams from the outside world. Little did they know the reality was far more sinister than their wildest imaginations could conceive. Elizabeth's inner circle thrived on the castle's ominous reputation. They fanned the flames of fear, adding their own horrifying tales to the mix. One servant girl, Ilona, became the face of this dark narrative, allegedly disappearing into thin air after entering the castle. Her absence served as a catalyst, propelling the rumors into overdrive and casting Elizabeth in the role of the cruel countess. Each passing day, more girls vanished, their fates unknown, their voices silenced forever. In 1601, King Matthias II of Hungary sought to capitalize on these brewing tensions. He dispatched an accusations to Castle Čachtice to investigate the harrowing claims against Elizabeth. The two men entered the castle as emissaries of the crown, carrying with them the hopes of a kingdom seeking justice. Upon arrival, they were met with the chilling sight of what appeared to be a tomb. It was here that the pair began piecing together the fragments of a horrifying tale. Inside the tomb, they discovered a secret passageway leading them to the first chamber of what would become known as the Blood Countess's torture labyrinth. The network of tunnels concealed beneath the castle was a testament to the depths of her depravity. Each room they uncovered revealed new horrors, echoing the tormented screams of victims long gone. These chambers were not merely places of confinement, but stages for unspeakable acts of cruelty. Elizabeth had transformed her castle into a house of pain, using its very foundations to carry out her gruesome rituals. As the investigators continued their descent into the heart of the castle, the scale of Elizabeth's atrocities became horrifyingly clear. Rumors abounded that Elizabeth kept a detailed diary chronicling her heinous acts, each entry a grim reminder of her descent into darkness. But like so much evidence of her crimes, the diary itself was never recovered. Had it been found, it might have provided an even clearer picture of the psychological torment that drove her to commit such atrocities. Instead, history is left to piece together the fragments of her crimes from the accounts of those who dared speak of her deeds. Following the investigation, Elizabeth was charged with over 600 counts of murder, making her one of history's most prolific serial killers. However, the true extent of her crimes may never be known due to the loss of many records over time. Amidst the growing pile of evidence, Elizabeth's fate hung precariously in the balance. The investigators' report painted a damning picture of her crimes, leaving little doubt as to her guilt. Yet as the king prepared to deliver his judgment, Elizabeth's status as a member of the Hungarian nobility offered her a precarious lifeline. Born into privilege, she had always navigated the treacherous waters of the court, using her wealth and influence to secure her position. Now, as the full weight of her alleged crimes threatened to crush her, Elizabeth's aristocratic roots became both a shield and a burden. Her defenders, powerful figures eager to protect their own social standing, argued for leniency, citing her noble birthright. On the other hand, those who had suffered at her hands or lost loved ones to her gruesome games demanded justice. As the king weighed the demands for retribution against the pleas for mercy, the fate of the Blood Countess remained uncertain. The looming question echoed through the halls of power. Would justice prevail, or would privilege protect her from the consequences of her alleged actions? After her arrest, Elizabeth was confined to her castle tower for the remainder of her life. The four walls of her prison became her only company, the creaking stairs her only entertainment. She spent her final years pacing her cell, haunted by the ghosts of her victims. And so the story of the Blood Countess ended not with a bang, but with a whimper, a tragic fall from grace for a woman who had once commanded both power and fear. Elizabeth was never formally tried in open court. Instead, she was bricked inside her castle tower, imprisoned for life until her death in 1614. Her legend, however, only grew darker. Tales of torture devices, occult rituals, and rivers of blood became part of folklore, and centuries later, she remains a figure who blurs the line between truth and nightmare. This was Unholy Histories. Subscribe, if you dare, because the next story waiting in the shadows may be even darker.